9440981, and you can also tweet at smooth981. We're streaming live on YouTube as well. Just search for Smooth 981 FM Lagos, and you can catch the live stream and post the comments. Good morning, Rotus. Welcome. Happy rainy morning.
Yeah, good morning, Zibby. Oh, good morning to all our listeners out there. Yeah, indeed. Hope everybody is staying dry.
That is key at this point. All right, so we're talking about CBN floating the Naira at the investors' forex window. Rotus, can you start by explaining how this move from the CBN vindicates the daily trusts?
Yes, we have to start with the daily trust. You remember that a few weeks ago, the Daily Trust put out a story saying that the Naira had been devalued to 630 to the dollar. The CBN put out a circular or a note saying that the Daily Trust was wrong. They, questioned their integrity and their reputation, saying that the news was fake. But the Daily Trust stuck to its story. They put out another notice the next day saying that they stand by their story, they stand by their sources. And at the time, I thought Daily Trust was wrong because I was using the closing rates at the end of the day for the I&E window. And at that time, it was closing, I think it was about 460 something, or it was 470 or so, 471. But what the Daily Trust was saying was that during the trading day, the Naira was going for 630 for the dollar during the day. There's a trading day. But at the end of the day, even though it was trading at 630 during the day, it would close at 470. So now that the central bank has freed the Naira and told commercial banks as of yesterday that you can now trade the Naira freely, the Naira closed on the I&E window at 664. It closed at 664 yesterday, essentially validating what the Daily Trust, and then to some extent Business Day as well, Business Day newspaper, because what Business Day was saying was that, we talked to people who were trading the Naira on the window, and they said that it was trading at the 600 levels. But for some weird magic, it would close at 470 at the end of the day. And so this essentially was the issue with the I&E window to begin with, Zibby, because the I&E window was formed in 2017 by the central bank, and that was supposed to boost liquidity of FX into the country, and it was supposed to be trading freely. But the CBN was still the main controller of the currency in the window. So they were essentially manipulating the rates and not closing it at 470. So this move, now that we've seen, this is what happened yesterday is what should have happened in 2017, where the rates should have been allowed to move freely. It's a market. Yeah. So the investors and exporters window, basically, if you, Zibby, are an investor or an exporter, if you come to the window and say, I have dollars that I want to sell, I would say, Zibby, how much do you want to sell it for? Other people will ask you. The rates will be determined by us in the market. It's like buying a pair of glasses or buying tomatoes or buying, a car. If you take your car to the market and say, I want to sell my car, the market will tell you what value your car is at based on other cars and based on other factors. So what was happening was that if we just use the car analogy, we know what a car, depending on whether it's an SUV or a regular sedan, we know what it's supposed to sell for. If things change in the marketplace, we know how the price would move. But if one person who has the most amount of cash continues to manipulate the costs of a car and keep it at a particular value, that raises suspicion. So that's what's been going on with the I&E window. The CBN was still controlling the rate. So I have to apologize to Daily Trust because I didn't believe them when the story came out, and I thought that the CBN was the one that was being correct. But in the end, the fact that the window closed at the rate closed at 664, and they said it was 630 back then, shows that they were right.
Right. So does this move basically eliminate the parallel markets?
It does not. Parallel markets still exist everywhere. What it does though is it's the spread between the official rates and the parallel market rates is narrowing. So
Okay.
from we would always say, okay, we're at 470 official rates, and then 750 parallel market rate. Now the rate at the I&E window is now 664 as of where it closed yesterday, which is closer to 750 than 470. So in fact, there were some bids that we saw. I think there was a bid for 790 yesterday on the I&E window. So what would happen is that the gap between the I&E rates and the parallel market rates will continue to narrow until maybe it closes. And so the difference should be very minimal as the trading days continue.
Wow, interesting. So how will the exchange rate move going forward from here?
So the rates should move according to demand and supply. What that means is that there will be no big brother or big sister in the background that will be selling dollars or doing anything to try to move the rates. The CBN even put out a circular yesterday confirming the move, saying that they're going to what's called a willing buyer, willing seller model, which simply means the people in the market will determine the rate. So that's how the rate is going to move going forward. So availability of FX is also going to impact the rates. So this move, again, we're expecting that hopefully it brings in more foreign exchange, since there will be hopefully a transparent single rate. But the exchange rate will move up and down purely by market forces. And it's a big test for the credibility of the administration, because they've been saying they wanted to bring more foreign investors into the marketplace. And so this is a test, Zibby. These people will go into that window. They will test the market to make sure that the rate is actually controlled by market forces. And that's how the rate is going to move going forward.
So, Rotus, what does this mean for foreign investors?
So it follows up on the speech that President Tinubu made at his inauguration, that I have a message for foreign investors. You'll be able to move your money in and out freely. He's promising liquidity. This announcement doesn't change the situation overnight. I mean, there's still a dollar scarcity issue. We're not selling enough oil. Our infrastructure has issues. So there's still dollar scarcity. But the message to foreign investors is, hey, listen, Nigeria is transparent. Nigeria has a rate that you can believe. Nigeria has a rate that is going to be determined by players in the market. There's no invisible hand that is going to be manipulating anything. So the hope is that for foreign investors, they see this as a signal. It backs up what the president said as his inauguration speech. And so now we hope that they will now start to come back into the market if they know that the rate. So now our diaspora, Nigerians who are overseas that are sending money home, anybody who looks at the market will be like, okay, fine. We should have one rate. There shouldn't be any confusion. And so hopefully it attracts more foreign portfolio investors who invest in the stock market. Stock market has now popped 2 days in a row. The market really likes the announcement yesterday. And so we hope they come in.
So let's talk about speculators. What about them?
Well, there will always be speculators in the marketplace. But the idea behind this is that this will reduce their incentive. Speculators were having a great day when it was at, people were doing round tripping, where you would take dollars at, 470 and sell it at 750. But now, as you can see, it closed at 664. Maybe it closes closer to 700 again later today. So the incentive for speculators is narrowing. And as it continues to narrow, it will reduce the profits that they hope to make in the market.
All right, let's go on to WhatsApp. We have a few messages coming through. Ahmed says there will always be trust deficit from the people to government. Why did the CBN deny this news? And another message says, I've always been thinking, does it mean the Naira So dollar can never be improved, maybe 200 Naira to $1 or less. Is
Oh,
this the way
wow.
it's been designed, that the Naira can never be equal to $1?
Okay, Joe, for that to happen, there would have to be massive improvements in our economy. The currency, the reason why the dollar is where it is today is the trust that people have in the U.S. economy. It's the amount of, well, they print dollars, yes, but oil is priced in dollars. Crypto is priced in dollars. It's the strength of the U.S. economy. The Nigerian economy, to get closer to it, can happen. It can happen. You can get $1 to 1 Naira, but there would have to be your power will be 24/7. Infrastructure is fixed. Corruption almost disappears. I mean, you would have to always have a close to perfect country. GDP will have to just double or even triple, maybe quadruple. I mean, we would really have to be, things would really have to improve. The Naira used to be stronger than the dollar back in I think it was the 70s or the early 80s or so. But, so a lot has to happen for that to get towards us to get there.
And Yinka says, looking at the availability of FX, will the NNPCL start remitting so we don't run out of FX, considering that we are now back at 1.3 million barrels a day and subsidy gone?
That's a good point. Yes, they should, because we're not paying subsidy anymore. The NNPC should be remitting funds back into the Federation account. So we should expect that to happen, I think, from this month or so.
And Ken says the battle between demand and supply of foreign currency is a mismatch. We produce nothing here.
That is a strong point. In order to back this up, oil production has to go up. We have to start exporting proper finished goods. A lot of improvement has to happen. Power. That needs to be solved as well. The messages as usual from our listeners are on point.
Okay. Anne says, what happens to the Form A transactions? At what rate would they be? Again,
that is going to be determined by the I&E window, and as far as demand for whatever it is that you need, the rates at which remember, those rates used to get them at the it was the official market rate. That's gone now. So what your FX demand is going to be, or rather the price at which you get your foreign exchange, is going to be determined by where things close at the I&E window.
All right. So Rotus, I have to ask this. How would you describe the pace at which the administration is moving currently?
Yeah, they're moving at a really fast pace. I almost feel like this is the news, this FX rate, this stuff is even outdated, because a few minutes or later in the day, we heard that the Mr. Bawa, the head of the EFCC, we heard he's been suspended, and he is also in custody of the DSS, just like the head of the CBN. So we can't even catch our breath. Us in the media, the President Tinubu is really making us work for our salaries, because
absolutely,
it's just one update after another. So they're moving pretty fast. It's just been 16 days now, and already they've removed subsidies. They've signed the Student Loan Act, suspended the head of the CBN, floated the Naira, suspended the head of the EFCC. They're moving at a really fast pace.
All right. So what do you think the new administration, can I still call them new? They're about 17 or 18. Know, right? All right. So what should they focus on next?
Well, I mean, Zibby, there's a lot. So, well, I guess power. Power it's pretty big. That probably takes some time, but they should start making moves in the power sector as soon as possible.
All right. Well, that is all the time that we have for Business Express. Thanks for listening. Thank you for your messages. And thanks, Rotus, for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Zibby. See you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.
All right. Do stay with us. There is a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.